Um, I offer my respectful obeisances under His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Dev and delivering the Western countries, which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Oh, 1 minute. Okay, sorry. I also offer my respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are present here and online. They are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone. And they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. So, Janmashtami, today, Krishna's birthday. It's such an amazing thing. God has a birthday. Why not? You know? It's so great. Like, yay, God has a birthday. So, what I've done is I've collected all of the chapter summaries from the Bhagavatam about Krishna's birthday, the Advent. Srila Prabhupada calls it the Advent of Lord Krishna. So I'm just going to read those. I edited a little bit, but not a whole lot. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 1, the Advent of Lord Krishna, the introduction. We're okay? We're all settled? Everything's good? Yep. Okay, Bhakti says yep, so we're good. All right, thank you for coming, and I apologize again for being late. The Advent of Lord Krishna, Introduction, Chapter 1. When Shukadeva Goswami finished describing the dynasty of Yadu, as well as the dynasties of the moon god and the sun god, Maharaj Parikshit requested him to describe Lord Krishna, who appeared with Baladev in the Yadu dynasty, and how Krishna performed his activities within this world. Krishna is transcendental, the king said, and therefore, to understand his activities is the occupation of liberated persons. Hearing of Krishna Lila is the boat by which to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Except for an animal killer or one who is following a policy of suicide, every intelligent person must strive to understand Krishna and his activities. Krishna was the only worshipable deity for the Pandavas. When Maharaj Parikshit was in the womb of his mother, Uttara, Krishna saved him from the attack of the Brahmashastra. Now Maharaj Parikshit asked Shukadeva Goswami how his lordship Baladev, the son of Rohini, could have appeared in the womb of Devaki. Why did Krishna transfer himself from Mathura to Vrindavan? King Parikshit asked, and how did he live there with his family members? What did Krishna do in Mathura and Vrindavan? And why did he kill his maternal uncle Kamsa? For how many years did Krishna reside in Dwarka? And how many queens did he have? Maharaj Parikshit asked Shukadeva Goswami all these questions. He also requested Shukadeva Goswami to describe other activities of Krishna, about which he could not inquire. When Shukadeva Goswami began to speak about Krishna consciousness, Maharaj Parikshit forgot the fatigue brought about by his fasting. Enthusiastic to describe Krishna, Shukadeva Goswami said, like the waters of the Ganges, descriptions of the activities of Krishna can purify the entire universe. The speaker, the inquirer, and the audience all become purified. Once when the entire world was overburdened by the increasing military power of demons in the forms of kings, Mother Earth assumed the shape of a cow and approached Lord Brahma for relief. Sympathetic, to Mother Earth's lamentation, Brahma, accompanied by Lord Shiva and other demigods, took the cow-shaped Mother Earth to the shore of the Milk Ocean, where he offered prayers to please Lord Vishnu, who lay there on an island in transcendental ecstasy. Brahma thereafter understood the advice of Mahavishnu, who informed him that he would appear on the surface of the earth to mitigate the burden created by the demons. Demigods, along with their wives, should appear there as associates of Lord Krishna in the family of Yadu to increase the sons and grandsons in that dynasty. By the will of Lord Krishna, Anantadev would appear first as Balaram, and Krishna's potency, Yogamaya, would also appear. Brahma informed Mother Earth about all this. Then he returned to his own abode. After marrying Devaki, Vasudeva was returning home with her on a chariot driven by Kamsa, her brother, when an ominous voice addressed Kamsa, warning him that Devaki's eighth son would kill him. Upon hearing this omen, Kamsa was immediately ready to kill Devaki, but Vasudeva diplomatically began to instruct him. Vasudeva stressed that it would not be good for Kamsa to kill his younger sister, especially at the time of her marriage. Anyone who possesses a material body must die, Vasudeva advised him. Every living entity lives in a body for some time and then transmigrates to another body, but one is unfortunately misled into accepting the body as the soul. If a person under this mistaken conception wants to kill another body, he is condemned as hellish. Because Kamsa was not satisfied by Vasudeva's instructions, Vasudeva devised a plan. He offered to bring Kamsa all of Devaki's children so that Kamsa could kill them. Why then should Kamsa kill Devaki now? Kamsa was satisfied by this proposal. In due course of time, when Devaki gave birth to a child, Vasudeva brought the newborn baby to Kamsa, who, upon seeing Vasudeva's magnanimity, was struck with wonder. When Vasudeva gave Kamsa the child, Kamsa, showing some intelligence, said that since he was to be killed by the eighth child, why should he kill the first? Although Vasudeva did not trust him, Kamsa requested Vasudeva to take the child back. Later, however, after Narada approached Kamsa and disclosed to him that the demigods were appearing in the Yadu and Vrishni dynasties and conspiring to kill him, Kamsa decided to kill all the children born in these families, and he also decided that any child born from the womb of Devaki must be killed. Thus, he arrested and imprisoned both Devaki and Vasudeva and killed 6 of their sons. There's a comment. He says, yikes. Yeah, no, it's pretty gruesome, this part. So he arrested and imprisoned both Devaki and Vasudeva and killed 6 of their sons, one after the other. Narada had also informed Kamsa that in his previous birth, Kamsa was Kalanemi, a demon killed by Vishnu. Consequently, Kamsa became a great enemy to all the descendants of the Yadu Vamsha, the Yadu dynasty. He even arrested and imprisoned his own father, Ugrasena, for Kamsa wanted to enjoy the kingdom alone. Chapter 2. Prayers by the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb. Kamsa, under the protection of his father-in-law, Jarasandha, and with the help of his demoniac friends like Pralamba, Baka, Chandura, Trinavarta, Agasura, Mushtika, Bana, and Balmasura, began oppressing the members of the Yadu dynasty. Therefore, the members of the Yadu dynasty left their homes and sought shelter in other such states as Kuru, Panchala, Kekaya, Shalva, and Vidarbha. Only some of them stayed with Kamsa as nominal friends. After Kamsa killed the Shadgarbhas, the 6 sons of Devaki, one after another, Anantadeva entered Devaki's womb and was transferred to the womb of Rohini by the manipulation of Yogamaya, who was following the order of the Supreme Personality of God. The Lord himself, who was soon to appear as the 8th son of Devaki, ordered Yogamaya to take birth from the womb of Yashoda Devi. Because Krishna and his potency Yogamaya appeared simultaneously as brother and sister, the world is full of Vaishnavas and Shaktas, and there is certainly some rivalry between them. Vaishnavas worship the Supreme Lord, whereas Shaktas, according to their desires, worship Yogamaya in forms like Durga, Bhadrakali, and Chandrika. Following the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yogamaya transferred Baladev, Sankarshan, the 7th child of Devaki, from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. Because Sankarshan appears in order to increase love of Krishna, he is known as Baladev. One may take auspicious strength from him, become a devotee of the Lord, and therefore he is also known as Balabhadra. We just celebrated his appearance day on Wednesday. Yeah. All right. After Yogamaya transferred the 7th child of Devaki to the womb of Rohini, the Supreme Personality of God had appeared within the heart of Vasudeva and transferred himself into the heart of Devaki. Because the Lord was present in her heart, Devaki, as her pregnancy continued, appeared effulgent. Upon seeing this effulgence, Kamsa was full of anxiety, but he could not harm Devaki because of their family relationship. Thus he began indirectly thinking of Krishna and became fully Krishna conscious. Meanwhile, because of the Lord's presence within the womb of Devaki, all the demigods came to offer the Lord their prayers. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, they said, is eternally the absolute truth. The spiritual soul is more important than the gross body, and the supersoul, Paramatma, is still more important than the soul. The Supreme Godhead is absolutely independent, and his incarnations are transcendental. The prayers of the demigods glorify and exalt devotees and explain the fate of persons who superficially consider themselves liberated from the conditions of material nature. The devotee is always safe. When a devotee fully surrenders at the lotus feet of the Lord, he is completely liberated from the fear of material existence. By explaining why the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends, prayers of the demigods clearly confirm the Lord's statement in Bhagavad Gita 4:7. Yada yada hi dharmasya, punir bhavati bharata, abhutanam adharmasya, tadatmanam shrujamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Chapter 3. Birth of Lord Krishna. Mother Devaki, being fully transcendental, Satchidananda, does not belong to this material world. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared with 4 hands, as if born from her womb. Upon seeing the Lord in that Vishnu form, Vasudeva was struck with wonder, and in transcendental happiness he and Devaki mentally gave 10,000 cows in charity to the Brahmanas. Vasudeva then offered prayers to the Lord, addressing him as the Supreme Person, Parabrahman, Supersoul, who is beyond duality and who is internally and externally all-pervading. The Lord, cause of all causes, is beyond material existence, although he is the creator of this material world. When he enters this world as Paramatma, he is all-pervading. Yet he is transcendentally situated. For the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of this material world, the Lord appears as the guna avatars, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. Thus Vasudeva offered prayers full of meaning to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devaki followed her husband by offering prayers describing the transcendental nature of the Lord. Fearing Kamsa and desiring that the Lord not be understood by atheistic and materialistic non-devotees, she prayed, she prayed that the Lord withdraw his transcendental form and appear like an ordinary child with two hands. The Lord reminded Vasudeva and Devaki of two other incarnations in which he had appeared as their son. He had appeared as Prishnigarbha and Vamanadev, and now this was the third time he was appearing as the son of Devaki to fulfill their desire. The Lord then decided to leave the Dev and Devaki in the prison house of Kamsa, and at this very time, Yogamaya took birth as the daughter of Yashoda. By the arrangement of Yogamaya, Vasudeva was able to leave the prison house and save the child from the hands of Kamsa. When Vasudeva brought Krishna to the house of Nanda Maharaj, he saw that by Yogamaya's arrangement, Yashoda, as well as everyone else, was deeply asleep. Thus he exchanged the babies, taking Yogamaya from Yashoda's lap and placing Krishna there instead. Then Vasudeva returned to his own place, having taken Yogamaya as his daughter. He placed Yogamaya on Devaki's bed and prepared to be a prisoner as before. In Gokula, Yashoda could not understand whether she had given birth to a male or a female child. Chapter 4. The Atrocities of King Kamsa. After Vasudeva bound himself with iron shackles as before, all the doors of the prison house closed by the influence of Yogamaya, who then began crying as a newborn child. This crying awakened the doorkeepers, who immediately informed Kamsa that a child had been born to Devaki. Upon hearing this news, Kamsa appeared with great force in the maternity room, and in spite of Devaki's pleas that the child be saved, the demon forcibly snatched the child from Devaki's hands and dashed the child against a rock. Unfortunately for Kamsa, however, the newborn child slipped away from his hands, rose above his head, and appeared as the eight-armed form of Durga. Durga then told Kamsa, "The enemy you contemplate has taken birth somewhere else. Therefore, your plan to persecute all the children will prove futile." According to the prophecy, the eighth child of Devaki would kill Kamsa, and therefore when Kamsa saw that the eighth child was a female and heard that his so-called enemy had taken birth elsewhere, he was struck with wonder. He decided to release Devaki and Vasudeva, and he admitted before them the wrongness of his atrocities. Falling at the feet of Devaki and Vasudeva, he begged their pardon and tried to convince them that because the events that had taken place were destined to happen, they should not be unhappy for his having killed so many of their children. Devaki and Vasudeva, being naturally very pious, immediately excused Kamsa for his atrocities, and Kamsa, after seeing that his sister and brother-in-law were happy, returned to his home. Comment. Reese says he was tricked by Krishna, tricky god. It's true. And Bhaktiville says yes with a smile. Absolutely. After the night passed, however, Kamsa called for his ministers and informed them of all that had happened. The ministers, who were all demons, advised Kamsa that because his enemy had already taken birth somewhere else, all the children born within the past 10 days in the villages within Kamsa's kingdom should be killed. Although the demigods always feared Kamsa, they should not be treated leniently. Since they were enemies, Kamsa should try his best to uproot their existence. Demoniac ministers further advised that Kamsa and the demons continue their enmity toward Vishnu, because Vishnu is the original person among all the demigods. The Brahmanas, the cows, the Vedas, austerity, truthfulness, control of the senses and mind, faithfulness and mercy are among the different parts of the body of Vishnu, who is the origin of all the demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Therefore, the ministers advise the demigods, saintly persons, the cows, and the brahmanas should be systematically persecuted. Strongly advised in this way by his friends, demoniac ministers, Kamsa approved of their instructions and considered it beneficial to be envious of the brahmanas. Following Kamsa's orders, therefore, the demons began committing their atrocities all over Brajabhumi. Chapter 5. The meeting of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva. There was great jubilation all over Vrindavan due to Krishna's birth. Everyone was overwhelmed with joy. Therefore, the king of Braj, Maharaj Nanda, wanted to perform the birth ceremony for his child, and this he did. During this great festival, Nanda Maharaj gave in charity to all present whatever they desired. After the festival, Nanda Maharaj put the cowherd men in charge of protecting Gokula, and then he went to Mathura to pay official taxes to Kamsa. In Mathura, Nanda Maharaj met Vasudeva. Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva were brothers, and Vasudeva praised Nanda Maharaj's good fortune because he knew that Krishna had accepted Nanda Maharaj as his father. When Vasudeva inquired from Nanda Maharaj about the welfare of the child, Nanda Maharaj informed him all about Vrindavan, and Vasudeva was very much satisfied by this, although he expressed his grief because Devaki's many children had been killed by Kamsa. Nanda Maharaj consoled Vasudeva by saying that everything happens according to destiny, and that one who knows this is not aggrieved. Expecting many disturbances in Gokula, Vasudeva then advised Nanda Maharaj not to wait in Mathura, but to return to Vrindavan as soon as possible. Thus Nanda Maharaj took leave of Vasudeva and returned to Vrindavan with the other cowherd men on their bullock carts. And we'll stop there. So that's the story of Krishna's advent in Vrindavan. Any questions? Such a great story. Grace says, thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. I'm sorry there was a mix-up about the time. The children, Bhakti asks, did the children come back later? I think there is a point where Krishna and Balaram go and rescue them, but then they go off somewhere else. They don't play a role in Vrindavan. Bhakti says, okay. So tomorrow is Srila Prabhupada's appearance day, and I was thinking that I would come in and read from Lilamrita that Satsvarup Das put together a few years after Srila Prabhupada passed away. Any stories you'd like to hear? Anything would you like to hear about 26 Second Avenue? Would you like to hear about? Yes, we can put it on Facebook. So we'll choose a time that's convenient for you. Reese says, I do have a question. Under Vedic astrology, what sign is Krishna? Under Western astrology, he is a Leo. I looked it up. there is stuff about Krishna's. I was reading something today. It's been 4,200 something years since he was born. Lots of disagreement on the web. Let me look into that, Greece, because I read something. There's a devotee, her name is Govinda Dasi. She always posts stuff about people's charts in, in the stories that we're reading. So let me look into that. I'll tell you about it when I find out. He's an old kid, yeah. He's the oldest kid. Right, no, it's not the same. It's a little different. Yes, they don't always agree. I'm a Scorpio in Western astrology, but I'm a Libra in Vedic. So, any pastimes you'd like to hear about of Srila Prabhupada's? Okay. I don't have my books with me. I'm here at my daughter's, but I can. The earlier ones. Okay. All right. Yeah, I agree. The early ones are really fun. When he came on the ship and was in New York. Okay. And those would be great stories because those devotees at that time were all so incredibly dedicated and just completely enthralled. So their stories are really enthralling. They're really great stories. So, okay, that's what we'll do then. So, is there a time that's better for you, Bhakti, that we can do that? Anytime, even if it's early, I'll just get up. Okay, you can text me and let me know. Oh, you want to ask him now? Or you want to ask? Yeah, I don't care. I'm not doing anything. You have nothing tomorrow, so you want to do it in the morning? Morning for you is way different than morning for me. It's like Western and Vedic astrology. Okay, how about 9 o'clock my time? So that's noon your time. Okay, all right, sounds great. So do you want to put out a notice for that? Because, okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for letting me read this story. I thought that these summaries were were an interesting. It's just the storyline as opposed to Krishna book that Prabhupada interrupts and adds all kinds of other philosophical points, which are interesting, but I always get diverted from the storyline. So I was happy to put this together for the storyline. You could see what was happening between this thing and that thing, and who was falling asleep when. And I have this great photo of the Jamuna River is flooded, and there's a deity of Vasudev carrying Krishna in a basket on top of his head. And so the river is flooded, and the water comes all the way up to Vasudev's chest. And it comes up in my memories on Facebook every once in a while. And I just always think about that. Like, that must have been what it was like. We had to carry Krishna across the river over to Vrindavan. So, yeah. Anyway, all right, you guys. So, we usually celebrate Janmashtami at midnight. So, I'm put everything off. I'm doing all kinds of other things, getting ready for midnight. So, I'm looking forward to midnight. And I hope you all have a wonderful, yes, happy Janmashtami. A wonderful, wonderful day. And I'll see you tomorrow at 9, second lifetime. Thank you again. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.